Good evening, everyone. My name is Justin, also known as Seronian. I am doing a redo of this video. Hopefully, it works better out this time. First and foremost, this is for Edge Studios. Edge Studios, if you haven't heard, they've recently been given the license to do the various RPGs that Fantasy Flight Games used to do. The Genesis system, which I have heard, haven't done a whole lot with, but I've heard of it. It looks interesting. And the Star Wars license that they have for Edge of the Empire, Age of Rebellion, Force and Destiny, and I guess say the combined books era for like Dawn of Rebellion, the Clone Wars, and so on. With the books coming out right now, Edge Studios had said that they do not have any plans to make books for at least a year or two. And that's unfortunate because, in all honesty, Edge, you can do other books. This is one of the few times where if you want to be lazy, go for it. I'm not going to hold it. I'm not going to be faulting you for it. I'd rather have a little bit of repeat content from other sources in the Star Wars RPG that Fantasy Flight has built than you guys coming out with something totally new and wind up making a quote unquote another faction in the Edition Wars. Right now, Star Wars has, like 4 of them. And really just comes down to, do you favor old school or new school? And do you favor a level-based system versus something that's not level-based? Personally, I prefer the not level-based. And the big reason for that is you can have players where Stormtroopers are still going to be a threat first session all the way up to the session 20 in a level-less based system. No levels. In a level-based system like D20 or Saga, it is level 1. Stormtroopers are going to get out of favor. They're not going to be powerful enough. They're not going to be a threat after, say, level 10. So, what is this book? What is this ideals for you guys? Well, first and foremost, you basically have your 2.0 books, your 2 series books. This is Allies and Adversaries 2, Gadsden's Gear 2. You have Starships and Speeders 2. And these are your books where here's, say, an entry was not put in the first book, you put it in for the second book. You're not expecting to really be able to be like, ooh, about that stuff. This is where also additional rules come into play. I'll go into that later on in a little bit. But those are your first 3 books. These are your Allies and Adversaries 2, Gadget's Gear 2, and Starships and Speeders 2. Then you have, I would dare say, your useful books, your needed books to a degree, and that is, first and foremost, Droids and Drones. There's a lot of droids and a lot of drones are brought in over the years, in the last 7 years, and it can be in like a small entry in an adventure module. Bring it all in. Okay, bring in the droids and drones. I would dare say even have a special blurb for PC droids as well too. How to do that. Once again, rules for droids and drones being brought up and brought in for a little more crunch for people that need it. I'll explain more in a little bit. You have your bases and businesses or buildings and whatever. This is where you have your base building rules and the various compendiums we brought in. This is where if you have a Edge of the Empire group, what do they do if they are given a homestead on a planet? For your Age of Rebellion, what happens if they were given hey, you need to set out base on another planet because Hoth was taken out, Echo Base was taken out. Well, Force of Destiny, where you have a temple, you found a long lost temple to the Force. What do you do? Okay, go into further details for that. May refine the rules, combine certain rules because it makes sense for it's a deal of hey, everyone's going to need to be able to have a place to sleep. What do you do about that? Finally, for this group, a species menagerie. Have an official one at that. This is where here are the player options, and maybe you're refinement or an addition. Okay, yeah, you have the humans, your Twi'leks, your Bothans, your Wookiees, your species that were introduced in various source books from 5, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. Okay, now I can bring them all in, put them under one roof, and be done with it. And also, dare say, bring in, say, okay, we brought up with the Corellians and the, what else? Corellians, Mandalorians, so they're like top two, that comes to mind immediately in regards to humans, where it's like, okay, you're such a species, but were you always raised on that planet? Okay, not all Wookiees are raised in Kashyyyk. Not all humans are from Coruscant, Corellia. They're from other planets. What does each of these planets bring in? And I would dare say that would lead to a fourth book, if you really want to go into it, your Planetary Systems book. Here is the, I guess you say, the Gazetteer, Gazetteer, whatever you want to call it, entry for it. And see, hey, here's the 2, 3 pages, maybe 4 pages on a specific planet that doesn't get covered in other places. Avoid, like, say, Coruscant and maybe Tatooine, but bring up, and maybe even Alderaan, but bring up other planets that, they get mentioned here, get mentioned there, nothing major, and that aren't already covered in the Sons of Fortune, or Lords of Nalhada, or maybe another settings book. So those are the 4 right there, on top of the 3 I already mentioned. Now, you also have the settings books. These are the ones where it's, here's a nondescript, generic deal of various areas, various planets, divided among the 3 lines. Edge of the Empire, Age of Rebellion, Force of Destiny. Yeah, 3 right there. So that's 9, 10. Adventure modules, at least 4. Because you have one for Edge, one for Age, one for Force. So you now have, and then one that can be tied in all 3. That's great. That's awesome. Go for it. So that's, 14 right there? Hey, go for it. And then I would dare say you have your Arrow books. These are the books where, in essence, this is where it deals with the individual movies before, during, after. What's happening? A good example would be, say, what's the state of the rebellion after each episode? What's the state of the Empire? What ships were lost? What ships were gained? Who was introduced? Who was removed? So on and so forth. Give it a little more meat and crunch. Would they be popular? Maybe, maybe not. It's going to be doubtful, but at the same time, you can also have where, say you have a GM that, or maybe you guys want to have where, hey, GMs, here's how you run your group if you want to be on Hoth. Or if you want to be on, maybe even, say, you can split up for, like, say, you're part of the fleet and the Death Star Assault, or on Endor. Say you took, you're one of the B teams for Endor. That's going to be useful right there. Now, expanded rules. More specifically, creation rules for, say, right off the bat, the big one for me is minions, rivals, and nemesis. Because if you try to build a nemesis using the PC rules, it can get a little wonky. Same deal here. Another would be like organizations. Organizations like the Rebel Alliance, the Hutt Cartels, or the Hutt Kajiks. You have the Black Sun. You have other groups where it's like, hey, here's how to gain influence with them, how to build one yourself. That can be useful as well, too. Expanded rules for crafting. The big one for me is the droid. And this is where it's like, you get what's a droid? How do you build it? How do they move? How intelligent are they? What is their role? How do they handle various resources? And then also, how do you handle mass producing it? Making in essence, a schematic of a specific droid type. Rules as is, if I say I'm going to be making a combat droid, there's no difference between a B-1 battle droid and a droideka, and I would dare say a commando droid. There is no difference if I would say, hey, I was going to build a combat droid. What is it? How do they motivate? How do they move? Do they have different ways to move? Like, for example, the droidekas, the destroyer droids. So expanded rules for crafting, especially since droids cover such a huge deal. And I would dare say expanded rules for vehicles. That's another area. In regards to, and then add to it the various roles. Okay, we have the medical role, the mechanical role, the computer role, and so on, where it can easily be a deal of, okay, let's specialize on crafting and creation roles for those groups, for those players that make, they want to be mechanics. It's just these are the ideas I have out. Let me know if these ideas are good or not, and hopefully you guys find it useful for them. I really want this to be successful. I mean, in my opinion, the RPG is probably one of the more successful aspects of Star Wars that a lot of people probably don't get much attention to, but they should consider it more. Anyway, my name is Justin. Hopefully you all have a good day now. Thank you, and good luck, Godspeed.